Hey ladies, welcome to Donna's Sewing Circle. Come on in. We saved a seat for you. If you found me today on this big world, wonderful web, you must be a beginner quilter. But there's a problem if you just found me today. We are starting on lesson 5. You can't start making a quilt on lesson 5. So if this is your first time on my channel, go back to lesson 1 and start there. If you're supposed to be here and you're ready for lesson 5, let's get on, because lesson 5 today, we will be putting the strips together that we made in the last video. So let's get started. Okay, so we're going to start with, remember we made 2 strips of this one? Look through your strips and find the one that matches that, which is this one. We'll lay these aside. So we need this strip, and then we need this strip. So you want to find the one that starts with the 4 blocks and the one that's got your number 2 quilt color. So this one is mine. This is my row 2. Now, one way you'll know if you've got the right blocks or not, the right strip, lay them side by side like this before you flip them and pin them, and make sure nothing matches. If nothing matches, you have the right patterns together. Okay, all mine are perfect. So the next step is to flip one on top of the other. It's very important that you're sewing. Okay, I was doing it backwards. It's a good thing I pay attention. This is the outside edge of your quilt. The one with the big block on it should be on the top position. Your other quilt there. I had it backwards. Good thing I pay attention. If not, then you would have sewed them incorrectly and you would have had to seam rip them. So make sure you've got strip number 1 on the top row, strip number 2 on the second row. Okay, now you want to flip the top row onto the second row, just like that. Okay, we're going to start on this corner. The first thing you want to do is nest these seams. Remember how we nested seams in, I believe it is lesson 2. You want to put the seams together where the, see how we nest them? You put seam to seam, seam to seam. Then you want to pin them that way so they don't slip and slide, because you want your blocks lined up. I make a cross with mine. I go up and then I go across. Then I'll go back to the very beginning, line the corners up and put a pin there. If you're unsure, you can put another pin here. I usually don't, but there's nothing wrong with putting too many pins in. So then we go to the end of this block every 10 inches. This one, it doesn't matter because you're not lining blocks up, but this one does. So we peel it back, we nest the seams together, pin it in a T or a cross. I'll put a pin here. If you don't put a pin, your edges can slip while you're sewing, and then you'll have a mess. So we go down to this one, pull them together. You want to nest the seams together. Pin them. Make sure these are together and pin these. So you're basically going to every 10 inches and pin the seams. And then you'll go back to the middle of the block and pin those. So you nest the seams together. That's the priority when you're sewing quilt blocks and quilt rows together, is that the seams are nested together. Now we're on the last one. So we just want to make sure all the edges are lined up. Okay, I've got all my pins in. Now let's go over and sew it together. Check your bobbin, check your top thread. You don't want to run out when you're in the middle of your sewing. Mine are fine right now. I will need to be changing my bobbin in another strip or two. Put your foot down. Run the fabric along the edge of your foot. Wait a minute, I got it upside down. You don't want your pin tops to be underneath your quilt. Lock your stitch. Now, you've got a long piece of fabric. Take your time. Put the weight of it on your lap so it's not just hanging down. And then just take your time. You want a straight line. Follow the edge of your foot with your fabric. Use your hands as a steering wheel. Do not run over your pins. When you get close to a pin that's in the way, remove it. Pinning makes sewing go much smoother because your fabric is in position and it cannot slide away. If you think you can sew and hold your fabric in place, most times you will not be able to do that. Sometimes if you have a small blocks, you can. With experience as newbies, I find it difficult. They usually mess up. So I would really, really recommend that you pin everything for the first few projects that you're going to do until you feel like you can control your fabric without a pin. Okay, let's go look at it. You don't ever want to accidentally leave a pin in a blanket or a quilt. That would not feel so good for the recipient of your quilt to run into one of your pins. Okay, we got the pins out. Let's open it, see how it looks. Woo-hoo, looky there. Isn't that gorgeous? The seams all have come together. Beautiful. Now we're on to the next one. We're going to fold this one over a little bit. Give us room to work. Okay, so now we're on this row. So that is blue. So I want the one that starts with blue. This one. So find your next pattern. This one is mine. Lay it out. Make sure nothing matches. Nothing matches, so we're good. So now we're going to flip it on top of itself. I'm actually going to flip it this way and then turn it around and pin that. Hopefully that you followed along with that and I didn't confuse you. Match your seams. Every 10 inches, you match your seams. That's where your blocks came together. I've had slippage occur when I've only used one pin at the seams. That's why I like to put a cross there so my seams don't slip. If you get lost, just rewind the video, start over. This isn't a marathon. Whole object is to make your first quilt and make it beautiful. So take your time, watch the video however many times it takes to get it right. Okay, we've got it pinned. Now we're going to sew this. Okay, I got it under my foot, lined up, foot down, quilt on my lap, not hanging down so there's no weight on it. Lock your stitch. Pretend like you're driving a car. Just guide your fabric straight through. Take your time, whatever it takes. Do not run over your pins. You don't want disaster. That's what will happen if you run over your pin. Okay, now we remove the pins. Sorry about the lighting change. We had a storm passing through and I didn't realize the lighting had changed. It was thundering pretty good outside. Now we have 3 rows done. Put the top row in the top. Doesn't it look gorgeous? I pray yours looks just as good, that your blocks are all lined up. Now we're going to get row 4, which starts with the 4 block. It'll be my pink block with the pink block in the upper left hand corner. Now you want to double check that nothing matches. Once you're sure that nothing matches, you flip right sides together. And I don't like to pin upside down, so I'm going to flip my quilt around. Now I'm going to start at the first seam of my 10-inch block. Make sure they're nested together. Now I'm going to make a cross. Do your 4th row the way we've done the other rows. Okay, now we're going to sew this row together. Forward 3, back 3. Use your hands as a steering wheel. Follow the edge of your foot with your fabric. Do not run over your pins. Take them out. Now we're going to take the pins out. Let's see how this looks. I'm excited. Are you excited to see how yours looks? Isn't that beautiful? Now we put the top row at the top. Now we're going to get the last row. It's the row that we made two identical pieces, remember? Those two identical pieces. One is the top row and one is the bottom row. Now we're going to double check that nothing matches. Flip it over on top of, right sides together. Then I flip my quilt around. So pin everything together just like we did with the previous rows. Double, make a cross, double pin it. Ladies, if you're following along, please subscribe so you don't lose my channel and you can find me for my next series. I believe my next, oops, I just stabbed myself with the pin. But I believe the next quilt I'll be making will be a pinwheel, and I'll do the same as this. I'll walk you along. So please subscribe so you can follow along the journey, and we can make quilts together. So this is our last row. So how's your quilt coming along? I'd love to hear in the comments how yours is coming. If you're following along, if you've been following along from the first video. This is our, go forward and backwards. This is our last piece. Now we're going to take the pins out. I'm excited to see how it looks. I love this part of the quilt making process, to unfold the quilt. Look at me, I'm pulling them pins out as fast as I can. I'll do the reveal. Da, 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 da. Okay, here it is. This is my quilt top. Isn't that gorgeous? This is a 42 by 42. I would love to see how yours looks if you've been quilting along with me. Isn't that beautiful? I'd love to know if this is your first quilt. Now, this is the end of this lesson. The next lesson, we will actually be putting the backing on it and quilting in the ditch. So be sure you subscribe, and I will see you in the next lesson.